All right, I think we're good to go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be discussing bridging SAP observability gaps with Datadog and RapDev. My name is Logan Roloff. I am one of the cloud and observability leads here at RapDev.
And I am George Morgan. I am a partner solutions architect with Datadog, supporting the RapDev relationship.
So high level agenda for today, we're going to do some quick introductions. We'll be discussing some of the historical issues with SAP observability, what to monitor and how, and the usage of Cloud ALM with SAP. We'll cover what Datadog provides out of the box in regards to SAP monitoring, and then we'll dive a little bit into what RapDev is currently building to get some additional telemetry out of SAP and into the Datadog platform.
So first off, who are Datadog? So basically, Datadog is a SaaS-based platform focusing on many aspects of observability across both on-premise and public cloud environments. And since our inception in 2010, we've sort of grown in leaps and bounds in various aspects, as you can see here in the slide in front of you. I'm not going to go into nitty-gritty detail on each one of those aspects, but just as you can see here, in terms of financial, we're seeing consistent growth year over year over the last 12 months. In terms of customers, we're continuing to grow. Current count is 30,000 and above. And then one thing I want to highlight on this slide, and I'll go into a little bit deeper discussion in the next slide, is just the level of the breadth of the different products that we've been able to provide within that observability area. So as you can see, there's many different areas around observability. We're also focusing on observability of cloud security, cloud service management, software delivery. We currently employ about just over 6,500 employees across 33 different countries. And we're continuing to track our progress on the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So we are in that upper right-hand corner of that quadrant. So continuing to kind of provide value in that regard. So if we look at kind of the next slide of where we've come from, where we're going. So our DNA in general has been breaking down silos, accelerating transformation, a lot of concepts around DevSecOps when it comes to the observability space. And as you can see, we started in 2010, but one thing that has remained consistent from our inception in 2010 to the present day is this idea of a unified data platform, having everything at your fingertips, all within the same sheet of music, so that you don't have to context switch to different monitoring products to get different details, and basically looking at reducing that mean time to detection and mean time to resolution. But as you can see, over time, we started with infrastructure monitoring in the 2010 and 2012, and then sort of moved into APM, application performance monitoring, and log management. And then, as you can see, over time, we just continuously added new capabilities, and not only adding new capabilities, but continuing to maintain a deep correlation between the different components. So you can have that level of introspection and visibility into your various metrics, your traces, your logs. And as you can see, going to present day, we're continuing to, invest heavily in various different areas. We've made a lot of investments in AI, ML, Gen AI, LLM observability, as well as areas such as service management and security as well. So expect a lot more things to come, even as we're continuing to grow. But with that, I'm going to pass it back to Logan, who's going to talk about RapDev.
Thanks, George. So RapDev, we are a premier partner with Datadog. We've been, their highest level of partner for the last 4 or 5 years or 4 to 5 years or so. We've been their partner of the year for the last 3 years, and we were their marketplace partner of the year last year. We are, practitioners just like you. A lot of our engineering and project management resources were former Datadog employees or former Datadog customers themselves. So they've seen a lot of the problems that our customers experience firsthand. We've done at this point over 300 Datadog implementations globally, and that covers pretty much the entire breadth of Datadog's product suite, from infrastructure to APM to logging, RUM, LLM observability, cloud security, you name it. Well, we've implemented it at least once. We have now over 45 marketplace integrations. And so, we develop additional integrations for different pieces of infrastructure or applications that Datadog doesn't cover out of the box. So we have a lot of experience integrating with all sorts of different, platforms, old and new, to kind of, help enhance that sort of single pane of glass visibility that we love about Datadog. And although a lot of folks here likely already know this, I figured I'd cover it. SAP, they're a German company, globally recognized for creating the software that is SAP, as well as their proprietary SAP HANA in-memory database. So SAP is an enterprise resource planning software that takes a more centralized approach at data management and business process application. So their software expands across most major business functions: finance, manufacturing, human resources, transportation management, and much, much more than that. For a long time, it was mostly on-premise, or at least thought of to be mostly on-premise, but many of their functions now are available in either their public hosted cloud or in your own private cloud environment. So historically, with SAP, there have been some issues, and I will preface, this slide with a lot of this has gotten a little bit better over the last few years, but I saw a lot of these issues firsthand. One of my first roles in the tech industry was managing SAP systems, and I always found some of the observability aspects to be, exceptionally challenging due to just how different the systems are. So in terms of operations, tool sprawl is something that affects a lot of organizations, even if you don't use SAP. But unless you're one of those extremely rare companies where everything runs on SAP, then you likely have systems that do not run on SAP. And so those systems will either in the future or currently do interact with those SAP systems in some capacity for some variety of business workflows, data and analytics, et cetera. And historically, it was either very difficult or just not possible at all to integrate or correlate the telemetry emitted from those systems with those of your SAP systems. And this was mostly because you needed a separate SAP specific tool for monitoring SAP. And so, if you've got two different tools, all of your SAP telemetry in one, and then non-SAP in another, this just, adds to that operational overhead, especially when, troubleshooting or triaging ongoing incidents. And, this increased overhead gets, even further exacerbated by the fact that you need to now manage an entirely separate self-hosted SAP system just dedicated to monitoring. And it starts to, build some of these communication and operational silos, because a lot of this data was either hard to find, hard to read, or just completely inaccessible by, a lot of folks that were not the administrators or SAP basis folks responsible for maintaining the system. And, I don't want to say like gatekeeping, but like having that data completely separated, even sometimes from some of the folks that are writing the programs within SAP, just prolongs that troubleshooting process and can make it more difficult just to put centralized monitoring configurations in place. From a user experience standpoint, having that SAP system dedicated to monitoring also means that you now are following that kind of proprietary data format that's now different than the rest of your non-SAP environment. And so, this can just start leading to teams starting to speak different language, so to speak, when trying to get to the bottom of an outage. And this also ultimately leads to just difficulty overall in doing data correlation. So if you didn't have your SAP monitoring system set up almost perfectly, you eventually had to resort to manually going into SAP systems, running a lot of transactions within those systems, and each system can have different transactions that you can use for that troubleshooting. And so it just becomes a bit of a headache or a pain to just get to the bottom of some issues. And then in terms of AI and ML, the capabilities were historically also very separated. So you actually needed to install and maintain a completely separate extension just to do levels of basic anomaly detection. And then from a functional standpoint, things like notification configuration and customization in terms of the metrics or additional pieces of data that could go into some of these SAP specific monitoring systems were very limited. A lot of times, unless you built something fairly custom, you needed to either send email or SMS, uh, which some of that can be integrated into some of the modern paging tools, but it's kind of something that's dying out more and more as a lot of these observability tools have advanced and just got a lot more functionality. When it comes to observing SAP, now this can be very dependent on the type of system and what modules are being used within it, but there are some aspects that don't necessarily apply completely across the board, but they do apply to the bulk majority of systems. And so the first thing would be technical system availability and performance. So making sure that the systems are not only available, but behaving in a way that allows important business processes within them to carry out their functions. And this typically comes in the form of operating system metrics, work processes, and short dumps generated by errors that happen within the system. Transaction and job performance is also extremely important. A lot of things that run within SAP are scheduled jobs or event-based jobs, and SAP systems run and maintain workflows, especially in a lot of those scheduled jobs that are crucial to businesses' success. And so making sure that these workflows are performing as they should be by tracking requests, their latency, and their execution statuses is extremely important. In cases where SAP systems are interacting with each other or with outside businesses, doing things like making sure that IDOCs are properly and timely processed kind of falls into there as well. And then system and client context of application errors. So all of these metrics are great, but it's always helpful to understand not just what is happening, but also why it's happening. And so being able to utilize integration and exception monitoring logs can help provide this context and some more color to why failures are happening, why IDOCs aren't being processed properly, why short dumps are occurring, to really help get to the bottom of ongoing incidents.
And when we're talking about monitoring various different metrics, especially when it comes to Datadog, want to call out the current out-of-the-box Datadog integration for SAP HANA. So this is, like I said, an out-of-the-box integration. It's part of the agent package, and it's very much similar to a lot of integrations that Datadog provides. It's a very simple configuration process that you need to follow. And then at that point, you're able to track various different metrics around memory utilization across the different in-memory SAP database services. Obviously, database, memory utilization is a big one, and basically tracking the in-memory data store and visualize, when storage is filling up. And not only that, but once you have that installed, you'll have access to all of the metrics that you're going to be able to, in the future, create monitors and dashboards as well. And speaking of dashboards, as part of the integration, the SAP HANA integration, after it gets installed, it actually provides you an overview dashboard. So this is an out-of-the-box dashboard that's ready to go. And then right in your at your fingertips, you'll be able to, capture metrics as frequently as in the past 5 minutes or during a custom date. You'll have like quite a few of our out-of-the-box dashboards. You have the ability to clone the overview dashboard, change any of the metrics or any of the widgets. And not only that, but I have mentioned before, all of the ingested metrics that you get as part of the integration, you can leverage to create new dashboards, new monitors, so that you can get really good visualization of how your SAP HANA database instances are performing.
So now that we've kind of covered history, what's available, what SAP now has in terms of their new and improved state of observability comes from their product Cloud Application Lifecycle Management, or Cloud ALM. So it's a cloud-hosted solution that's used for centralized management, operations, and just overall data analysis of your SAP infrastructure. And so one component of the ongoing, operational capabilities that Cloud ALM offers is its interoperability with OpenTelemetry for observability data submission. So this kind of, allows users to get insights that have not traditionally been available from their SAP systems. And the product supports a wide variety of metrics from various system types, tracing from user interactions within the system, including SAP UI5 and SAP Fiori front ends, and then logging from various integrations that interconnect those SAP systems. And in addition, you can always or also send your own custom metrics and even your own custom tracing from non-SAP systems if you so wish. And so while the product is compatible with OpenTelemetry as kind of the community standard, and then on top of that supports non-SAP systems, it does still lack some functionality that Datadog has to offer. Things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, use the ability to use tools like Datadog's Watchdog and other AI and ML-based tool sets can be extremely valuable, especially when diagnosing issues with complex environments like SAP. And then on top of that, just being able to seamlessly correlate the data coming from SAP with other pieces of important infrastructure and application data, things like network monitoring, database monitoring, and just any other application or piece of infrastructure that you might already be observing within your environment. Being able to correlate that with SAP, especially when SAP is an important part of your environment, is just extremely important. And so what we're developing is an integration with SAP Cloud ALM. So really just bringing that telemetry sent from all of the connected SAP systems into Datadog. And so using Cloud ALM's landscape and analytic provider APIs, we're able to dynamically determine the different types of data and what data providers are applicable to the systems that you configure with the integration. This allows for fewer and more performant API calls on our end, and then just overall less complex user input for configuration. And while the integration isn't doing the OpenTelemetry tracing at the source, we do still utilize the OpenTelemetry format for data submission, and a lot of the points that we extract out of SAP are in OpenTelemetry format. So this kind of allows you to utilize your existing OpenTelemetry pipelines, OpenTelemetry collectors within your environment, just basically, as a plug and play almost for forwarding that data on. In addition, you can use the OpenTelemetry ingestion points built into the Datadog agent, which is a newer feature. If you might not already be using OpenTelemetry in your environment. And in addition, we understand that SAP systems are complex and you can't always install Datadog agents on the source systems. This is especially true in the case where those systems are SAP Cloud hosted. So our integration also allows for additional tags to be assigned for each of the configured systems to really allow you as the end users to enhance your telemetry with your specific business context. And displayed here is just one of the many dashboards that will be shipped out of the box with the integration, as well as some sampled traces, which are separated out by the SAP request type. And so, bringing this into Datadog again allows you to use their built-in features like Watchdog, Trace Analytics, so on and so forth, to be able to just use their overall really advanced tool set for analyzing your SAP data. And I'm not going to go through every single piece of this because there's a lot of aspects that we do collect data for. But this image kind of displays a fairly good summary of just the overall multitude of different data types and providers that this integration will cover. It's not an exhaustive list, but it does kind of highlight a lot of the core important pieces of telemetry that the integration does cover, from health monitoring of over 15 unique system types, to capturing success and failure data related to system and user-defined jobs through metrics and logs, to reporting messages from a slew of integration pieces like iDocs, Cloud for Customer, Ariba, et cetera. There's a lot of data to be collected from SAP systems, and we tried to kind of provide a fairly comprehensive look into the inner workings of these systems, just for that, again, overall better and seamless correlation with the rest of the telemetry in your environment, especially if all of that data is already going to Datadog as your observability tool of choice. And again, it's all collected from OpenTelemetry based APIs and submitted with OpenTelemetry. And so it adheres to a lot of observability industry standards. This is an integration that has not been fully released yet. We're working with a fairly large SAP customer to help build and prove a lot of this stuff out. And we're even working with SAP themselves to kind of enhance some of the visibility and usability of the different pieces of data that we're extracting from those systems. But we are expecting this integration to be released sometime in Q2. And so what we're also offering on top of that is, which that will be on a slide here coming up, is an invitation to be a beta customer. So if you want to be able to test out this integration within your environment, then just fill out the form that will be displayed to you via a QR code later on in the slides, and we'll get you kind of started and using the beta version of the product. And so with that, we've got a few minutes left that we can cover Q&A. Does look like we have one. Is this available in the Datadog Marketplace? Not yet, which I think I probably answered this as you typed that question. It's something that's currently in active development. It is fairly, I would say, fairly done. So we are, like I mentioned, taking beta customers, to be able to get some additional feedback and maybe enhance the product prior to it going live. The Datadog agents available for SAP ECC. So if you are referring to like the ECC, like on-premise systems for SAP, essentially if it can send the data to Cloud ALM, so if it's running like NetWeaver AS for ABAP, I think it's version like 7.4 or higher, then it's compatible with some of the SAP data providers. So it would kind of depend on the type of system and the version of system that you're running. So I would say check in with if you can send that data to Cloud ALM, assuming that you have a Cloud ALM included in your licensing through SAP. And so, and if you have any additional questions after finding that out, you can feel free to shoot us an email or message. Where can I find the requirements so that we can validate? Dominique, I can forward you on with some of the SAP provided requirements for integrating with Cloud ALM through email after this. Another question. How is monitoring implemented in your SAP environment to track the performance of both applications and infrastructure, and how do you utilize process integration platform within this context? Track the performance of both applications. I'm not sure so I personally, RapDev personally, we do not have or run our own SAP environment. Like I said, we are working with another SAP customer to do the integration development. And so if you're referring to like the PI, the SAP system PI, there are, I think it's logged and some metrics that we are able to collect from PI systems. Um, but I might need to follow up with you via email to get a little bit more insight into what you mean with that question, um, unless you have the ability to expand upon it a little bit really quick now. Anyone has additional questions? We have 1 or 2 minutes left. Otherwise, thank you for coming. Displayed on the screen is the QR code for the SAP beta sign up. And then if you have any further questions about the integration and what we've been working on, feel free to shoot me an email or get in touch through the QR code displayed on the screen there.